We have talked extensively in the past few weeks on this channel about the rookie class for the Kansas City Chiefs and how important it is that the rookies do perform and that Brett Veach continue to acquire fresh talent for this team to continue to go to AFC Championship games, win divisions, and go to Super Bowls. But it is not just on the rookie class. No, there will have to be other players that step up along the way that have breakout seasons. And so I wanted to ask the question, can Xavier Worthy be a breakout player? Well, luckily we have an article, and this is not the extent of this video. I promise I have a lot more research in here, but there is an article from Sports Illustrated by Dominic Minchella saying, or titled, "What a Breakout Season Would Look Like for Xavier Worthy," subtitled, "The Kansas City Chiefs Were Happy with the Production Xavier Worthy Showed Last Season, but what should Chiefs Kingdom expect from their second-year wide receiver?" Remember, it was in year 2 that Rashee Rice started looking like a complete wide receiver before that untimely injury. The article begins like this. The Kansas City Chiefs once again have proved that their drafting abilities are the reason they remain successful, with hopes of the 2025 NFL draft class showcasing what they have to add to the roster sooner rather than later. It was the 2024 draft class that stepped up in a huge way to assist last season. The biggest star that emerged for the Chiefs from their 2024 draft class was their first-round pick, Xavier Worthy. Worthy quickly became one of the more reliable wide receivers in the offensive game plan once Rashee Rice went down to injury. Worthy also showed that he is a player to build the future around as well. Ending his rookie campaign with the second most receiving yards on the roster with 638 in 59 receptions, Worthy has set the bar for how he can grow, needing to take a giant leap forward to ensure the Chiefs are competitive in a now stacked AFC West division. Worthy needs to become a leader. Now, we just have to acknowledge the obvious here. Everybody said that last year was the most stacked AFC West that the Kansas City Chiefs had gone up against. So maybe it is this season, but last year it was as well, and the Chiefs still took a bye week in the final week of the regular season. While the 59 receptions added well to the offense, Worthy was targeted 98 times, which brings him to a reception rate of 60.2. If Worthy wants to elevate his game, the reception rate will need to increase. While 60.2 isn't bad whatsoever, it's an area of growth that Worthy could focus on going into his second season. Not knowing the timeline of Rice's return to the Chiefs, as well as the decreased production that tight end Travis Kelce has shown these last 2 seasons, a big breakout would come for Worthy if he leads the franchise in receiving yards for 2025 campaign. In a recent CBS article published by Garrett Podell, Worthy headlined the second-year players who could see massive improvements in their second season. Enter wide receiver Xavier Worthy, the 28th overall pick in the 2024 draft, Podell wrote, following detailing how Worthy needs to step up in place of Kelce. Worthy's 638 yards receiving were the second most by a Chief in 2024 behind Kelce's 823, but they were only the 5th most among the first-round receivers selected in 2024. He'll evolve into Mahomes' go-to guy in 2025, which will help catapult the speedster to stardom. Now, I think it is informative to take a moment to look at his rookie year here. Why? Because we get a more full view of what it is that Xavier Worthy has done, and this will allow us to be a little more fair to Xavier Worthy, to project forward what Xavier Worthy can do, and frankly, because of the next step in this video, we're going to compare it to what he has already done after this. He had 13 starts and 17 appearances, 59 receptions for 638 yards, 6 touchdowns. Yes, he might have only had 638 yards, but he had 6 touchdowns along the way. That is a touchdown every 106 yards, basically. So 36 first downs as well. A 54-yard long, that's 60.2 catch percentage there, which comes out with also having 20 rushing attempts for 104 yards and 3 touchdowns, meaning that Xavier Worthy scored 9 touchdowns as a rookie. He was a force to be reckoned with. He had to be figured out wherever it was he was on the field. But let's look at what Xavier Worthy did in the playoffs. This is a 3-game stretch where he had 21 targets, 19 receptions for 287 yards. That is a 15.1 yard average versus his 10.8 yard average during the regular season. He had 3 touchdowns in 3 games. He had a 50-yard long. He had a catch percentage of 90.5%. This is while increasing his average reception by 33% from 10.8 yards to 15.1 yards. He turned into a different animal in the playoffs, and I know a great big part of that is the Super Bowl. He had a monster of a performance in the Super Bowl, and everyone will say, yeah, but it was the Eagles' backups. Was it? A, was it? B, you don't think that everyone on that Eagles sideline was motivated to not let the Kansas City Chiefs score or move the ball? You don't think everyone, all 53 of them, wanted that to be the conclusive nail in the coffin of the Chiefs franchise? It will not be. Xavier Worthy in the playoffs, a completely different animal. But you know what? So too was Rashee Rice during the 2024 season. During the regular season, most of what we saw Rice do in 2024 was stay at the line of scrimmage, catch the football, and hit somebody in the face. In the playoffs, we started to see him take a lot more crossing routes. We started to see him do some more out routes, all sorts of things just a little bit further down the field, and it turned him into a different wide receiver. In the 2024 playoffs, Rashee Rice had 33 targets, 26 receptions, 262 yards, a 10.1 yard average, 1 touchdown, 15 first downs, and a 78.8 catch percentage. This is a wild turn of events from where Rashee Rice was during the regular season. He was a more complete receiver in the playoffs. But we need to look at those gross stats versus Xavier Worthy's playoff run. And remember, Xavier Worthy had 1 fewer game. Xavier Worthy on 1 fewer game and 12 fewer targets ended up with 7 fewer receptions. On those 7 fewer receptions, Xavier Worthy had 25 more yards. On those 7 fewer receptions, Xavier Worthy had a 5-yard advantage in average reception. In those 7 fewer receptions, Xavier Worthy had 2 more touchdowns. In those 7 fewer receptions, Xavier Worthy had 2 fewer first downs. But that's not the most impressive part of it. Yeah, Xavier Worthy had 7 fewer receptions than Rashee Rice in 1 fewer game. Xavier Worthy did all of that on 12 fewer targets. 12 fewer targets, 2 more touchdowns. 12 fewer targets, 25 more yards. That is because he had a 90.5 catch percentage versus the 78.7 by Rashee Rice the year before. So, what does this look like on a game by game basis? Worthy had 6.3 receptions per game in the playoff compared to 6.5 for Rashee Rice. Worthy had 96 yards per game. Rashee Rice had 66. Worthy with those 15.2 yard average. Rice with a, when you readjust the numbers, a 10.2 yard average. Worthy scored a touchdown per game. Rice, a quarter of a touchdown per game. Yes, Rashee Rice broke out in the postseason for the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2024 season, and it was leading to that big breakout that Rashee Rice had in the 2025 season prior to the injury. But the breakout that Rashee Rice had in the playoffs in 2024 was nothing compared to the breakout had by Xavier Worthy. Part of this, Xavier Worthy was targeted downfield. Xavier Worthy, once Mahomes said, we're just going to wing it, just winged it. And guess what? Xavier Worthy figured out how to be there. That was something that hadn't clicked all season long. Xavier Worthy, with that 4.2 140, obviously had the potential to be a deep threat. It never quite synced up between Worthy and Mahomes until the Super Bowl. Now, if you want to make that argument that the Eagles were playing their backups, the Eagles' backups are better than most team starters. That's why they have been to 2 of the past 3 Super Bowls. They've won 1 of them, allegedly. The Eagles have a good defense. Once Mahomes and Worthy got on the same page, it didn't matter who was on the field. Xavier Worthy was going to make some receptions. Now, just to further examine this idea, there is an article from NFL.com, 8 young NFL players whose development could propel their teams in 2025 by Jeffrey Chadiha. We get this on Xavier Worthy. Yes, the Chiefs must fix their offensive line problems, with left tackle being a major priority. They also need to see Worthy, their first-round draft pick in the 2024 draft, continue the development he displayed through last year and into the postseason. We still don't know whether or not Rashee Rice will serve a suspension because of his involvement in a car crash in Dallas last spring. Rice also is returning from a major knee injury, and the Chiefs' third receiver, Marquise Hollywood Brown, has a history of dealing with injuries. He missed 14 games last year with a shoulder/collarbone injury. Worthy was the player who emerged when those setbacks occurred, and there will likely be stretches where he's the top receiving option this fall, especially with star tight end Travis Kelce turning 36 in October. Worthy proved that he was more than a speedster who could stretch defenses as head coach Andy Reid put more responsibilities on him with each passing week. He finished the season with 59 receptions, 630 yards, and 6 touchdowns. We know this. But his postseason contributions were far more notable. He led the team with 6 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown in the AFC Championship game win over Buffalo. He was also one of the few positives in the 40-22 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl licks, as he finished with 8 catches for 157 yards and 2 scores, most of which came in garbage time. Shove off Chadiha. Those efforts indicated how much Worthy grew over the season and how high his ceiling could be moving forward. Reid and quarterback Patrick Mahomes have had little success at returning that offense to its more explosive ways over the last 2 years. the emergence of Worthy would help that cause immensely. Yes, it would. And no, I don't think it's a stretch to believe that what Xavier Worthy did in that championship game, that AFC championship game, as well as the Super Bowl, is closer to where he will begin the 2025 season than where he ended the 2024 regular season. If that is the case, if Mahomes finally has a deep target in Xavier Worthy, something that never really manifested last year, it could be unstoppable. It really could be. You saw how good they were with Tyreek Hill out there, and I don't think Xavier Worthy will be Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has the opportunity to be a generational player if he gets his head screwed on right. I don't know if Xavier Worthy has that ability or not. I don't know that yet. He won't have to. The Chiefs have more firepower at wide receiver than they had during the entirety of the Tyreek Hill run, save that one spot. So, Xavier Worthy getting as close as he can to that type of production means that Patrick Mahomes will be able to spread the ball around like he never has, which should keep Xavier Worthy, paradoxically, open, because teams cannot allocate too many resources towards covering the diminutive wide receiver. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.